businesses here and there. About 20 years ago, had several small businesses, was blessed enough to have few of them being very successful, and was able to consolidate that. At one point, I just decided that I'm tired of having small businesses everywhere, so let me consolidate and kind of um, take a different, I would say, approach to business. So today, basically, guys, and I'm sure um, all of you guys are very smart and sharp people, right? Because um, I believe in Yang and his capacity to himself with quality people and to drive um, his vision, his ideas, and it's very rare, so people like that doesn't come around often. But like I said, I do understand that some of y'all might feel confused at time, might feel even ready to not really follow or maybe help more. So I'm gonna give you guys. Um, I'm not much in too much talking, so I try to put something together very short because myself I have a very, very, very short attention span. So literally, if you have to present something, I need to know what it is, what it does, how can you monetize it, and what's your plan, right? So real quick, and so I can make a quick decision and move on. But also I can recognize when there is substance, meaning that there's something there, but you just can't figure out what it is, but you can tell there's something there. So I put a little thing together, as soon as he told me that he wanted me to talk to you guys. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of put a couple of ideas together and how I approach and how I see things, if I can, help you guys or if you guys can benefit from it. And again, I try to make it very short, but in the same time, we will try to make it, as interactive as possible. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen here. So let me see. Uh, am I presenting now? Yep. Okay. I think I am now, right? Okay. All right, guys. So everybody can hear me right, right? Okay, good. So let's start and let's try to make it as quick as possible. So my first thinking, and every time I start a business or I invest in a business, is that the people that surround me need to not just think like they're employees. That's out of the window. That's number one. You know what I mean? You need to look at yourself as a stakeholder, period. And I'm gonna break it down a little further. So, startup success is heavily rooted in the level of stakeholder dedication and motivation. If stakeholders aren't behind the vision, it's hard to stay afloat. That is true, period. Startup business face many challenges, especially limited time and limited resources, because that's the point to be a startup, is that in the beginning there's not much money, there's no time, also because people have jobs, people have lives, and you come around with this idea and I'm not making no money out of it, then hello, right? I believe that a lot of people can agree and can understand why I'm trying to go with this, right? So owners or managers can often lose sight, of motivating stakeholders, because they get submerged by trying to build a product, by trying to build a software, by trying to to get those accounts, meaning like, to grow sales. Sometimes it's easy for the the leader to even, lose sight of motivating stakeholders, or even letting them understand that they have a piece of the pie. But that doesn't mean that they're not thinking of it. But sometimes they just submerge by trying just to put the business together, by trying to put the product together. Another thing is that, keeping stakeholder motivated not only make them happy, but also keeps your bottom line, or your future bottom line, healthy. My definition is that a motivated and qualified stakeholder is the greatest asset for a startup. All right, so keyword right here, it's qualified stakeholder. You know, Early on I talked about the fact that Yang has the capacity of, and that ability of, surround himself with amazing talent. So you being an amazing talent, it is important that you understand that you part of the business. You're not just an employee. And therefore you are the greatest asset of the startup. That takes me to the next point, the startup culture. Often, in today's world, we all in different states, we all busy. We people have lives, but it's important to create bonding sessions, because for a startup to succeed, mind you, there's not much um, money in the beginning. So for a startup to succeed, every single stakeholder need to have or form some type of a bond. There's different ways to do it. Um, you know, Video game tournaments, outdoors events, whatever. Money is important, especially with startups. It's money is not right there, but it's more so of a postponed financial gain. You know, and that's just due to the structure of startups. But that's not all. The feeling of belonging and contributing to a vision that could potentially change the world is even more powerful. Just imagine that you contributed to build a company or a startup, not only that in the future will make you plenty of money if it goes public, or if the company gets purchased by a bigger one, but not only that, you could claim that I was part of that, and that change, or whatever change that's the vision and the startup gonna create. It could be just like Twitter, just like Facebook, you know, just like even Tesla, right? You just like, I was part of that. So not only that your future gain, just because you have poured your soul and your blood and sweat in it for that future payoff, but not only that, that you can claim that I was part of that culture, I was part of that big vision. A motivated and qualified stakeholder, like I said, is the greatest asset to the bottom line. So, that takes me to to the last point. If you look at it, I said the flow of information and ideas should be high from the top to the bottom, but even greater from the bottom to the top. What that means, to be honest, when you have, or you work, or you involve in a startup, the only thing you have is ideas. So if there is no freedom to express your idea, Like I said, coming from the bottom all the way to the top, or from the top to the bottom, you will limit your ability for creativity and innovation. And I will explain more in the next slides. That takes us to creativity versus innovation. Why I put that together is because as a startup, creativity and innovation is your best asset. Creativity happens in your head, innovation happens in the world. Creativity is a drive within the mind. Some of us have it, most need more of it, you know? Creativity is essential to start up, yet it's not everything. Creativity is thinking, and innovation is doing. Therefore, innovation is far more important. But check this out. Those two concepts are very intertwined. Okay? Stop downplaying ideas. Take your ideas, look at them, work at them, build with them. It doesn't matter. You might be not working necessarily on the piece of software, but you might be in more so in the marketing side of things, and you have an idea. Yes, you might not be a programmer, right? But you have that vision or that understand that the end product could do this. But because you're not a programmer or you're not as technical, you hold yourself back, therefore holding the entire startup back. There is no stupid ideas in startups. No. But it is stupid not to explore an idea. That takes me to my next slide. Thinking outside of the box. To win, you need to think outside of the box to deliver a better customer experience, a better business model, and a new positioning. Because, mind you, there are bigger companies out there with bigger funding. So if you don't think outside of the box to differentiate yourself, to find a new attack angle to position yourself, you even dead even before coming out as a startup. Challenge each other to focus on quantity, not quality, of outside of the box thinking ideas. Because when you do that, you trigger a thinking pattern, meaning that I'd rather have you more and more crazy ideas than have none. Search for recognizable patterns in disconnected domains. Out of the box thinkers get new ideas by comparing unrelated subjects. And this applies to every single business. And even more so, and even more so with technology, with software, with applications. Challenge the outer limit of alternatives. So now we're gonna play a little game, and I would love to for everyone to participate if it's okay. So what do you guys see? What if I give you guys 5 minutes? No, not even 5 minutes. Let's, for sake of time, let's say 3 minutes to think of something when you look at those two products. Nothing has to do with anything, but just think of something. And then we're just gonna go down the line and kind of have, everybody share their ideas to see, just and just have a little bit of fun. Does that work with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
I think of the colors yellow and white.
Okay, so yellow and white. Yang, please, can you write down who's speaking and their ideas? Appreciate it.
Tristan and I think of like breakfast.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that. Okay. Okay.
Mine was pretty
What
similar,
else we
but
got?
banana smoothie.
Okay. I like that. Okay. 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 That's good. You see, that's a very simple and basic exercise. It's just how two unrelated product, can trigger thoughts, right? So I'm gonna go to the next slide and the last slide, and we will talk about it. So here you go. You see two completely different items that has nothing to do with each other. But look at three different products or final concept that came out of it. By the way, every single one of you guys was right. There's no wrong, right answer because it's the thinking of the mind, and there is no wrong or right in the mind. It's just to have that ability to trigger outside of the box thinking when you are working on a piece of software, when you're working on a product, you think about yourself like, okay, how can I use a new angle for the final product to be this way or that way? How can I impact the customer or the final customer a different way with what I have in front of me? So it's just to trigger those type of outside of the box thinking when you have two things that has nothing to do with each other, but you can find a way to bring it together. And that can apply, like I said, to every single aspect of business, and even more so in computer software based business and programming and programs. I'm gonna share a little bit of story with you guys. Um, and I think I shared that with Young in the past. Twitter that you guys see today was never the final intended product they wanted to happen. Never. But the simple fact that they had a general idea, not quite sure how to get there, but they tweaked it over and over and over and over and over and over again to finally land on the Twitter that we know today. It's a clear example of how the ideas might not be sharp, but if you keep working at them and associate things that has nothing to do with each other, but just keeping that open mindedness and that creativity, and like I say, it doesn't matter what end of the process you are. You could be in the marketing side of it, you can be in the programming side of it, you can be in the, you know what I mean? You can be in the concept side of it. It doesn't matter. Whatever your position lands within that process, you need to be able to think outside of the box and not being scared of sharing your ideas as far as the product you guys are working on. Like I said, there's no stupid ideas in startups. Nope. But it is more than stupid to not explore them. That will conclude my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will yield the floor, Mr. Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Fokwa. I should have started off with this, but Mr. Fokwa is not only an entrepreneur who started up many successful companies, but he's also a friend of mine and a U.S. Army officer currently serving with me. So again, I really, really do appreciate your time and your wonderful speech, and then getting people, really thinking about how to think outside the box, right, guys? So at this time, if you have a couple minutes, Mr. Farquhar, I will leave it up to you guys to ask him any questions that you guys might have in terms of startup.
Sure.
No questions?
I can ask a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, you
Sure.
mentioned how you had multiple small startups and you found a way to consolidate that. How did that work and how were you able to consolidate it into one?
Well, the main thing it was I was tired and I was starting to be to get overwhelmed, to be able, because when you have small businesses, often you are doing everything, right? Especially in the beginning. And then as I became successful with, this one, the next one, I was just keeping a lot of tabs into it, meaning now because I was so involved, and if I felt like, still need to be there, I still need to touch it up, I still need to be involved just because of the time that I invested in it. But like every business, right? You have a growth period, right? Where you start understanding more where you want to go. Having small businesses was great for me for a long time, but I was asking myself, what is the next step? What is the next step? Am I gonna keep, having all these small businesses here and there, and just go and chasing them and always checking on them? Or do I want just one entity where I can shift my business? So for example, I was give you a few examples. I was heavily involved in logistics, in trucking and last mile deliveries, and also computer systems. And I thought to myself, why can't I just have a bigger umbrella where I can just have a financial company, where I can have a logistic company, where I can have a restoration company? So basically, that was just an evolution. Okay, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who grind, I learned and I understood that it was important for me to have a bigger umbrella so that I can chase something else. And that for me was a transition to go more so in pure investment, right? I just spoke about a financial company. So it was just purely just going investment, buying companies, fixing, tweaking them, putting on the market, or just selling them. I find bigger yields doing so, but also it just, it's just a journey as an entrepreneur, right? You just grow. And I find that it was more suitable for family life. It was more suitable for, you know, be around my people, and that's how I made that transition. But it was nothing wrong having several small businesses because you have to start somewhere, right? And at the time, one of the thinking that I had, it was like, if one fails, at least I have that one. If the other one failed, at least I had that one, which is okay. But as you sharpen yourself as an entrepreneur, you understand exactly where your money needs to go and where your money doesn't need to go. Right? It was just a process of a natural evolution. That's all.
Any other questions?
Mr. Fokwa, thank you for the presentation. My question is, what are some of the mistakes that you made early on in your entrepreneur career um, that, with the
Great,
information you know
great,
now, you would change?
great question. I love that question. And I kind of shared the answer already, but yeah, I'm gonna bring it back. So, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, I was way too much involved, right? Because sometimes as a young entrepreneur, you want to do everything. And even when you delegate, you feel like the people that you delegate, even though they are well trained and sometimes even smarter than you just feel that sense to be still be there. And I have to be honest, it did cost me some great people, right? Because talent, like I said, is the greatest asset of a startup. It's the greatest asset of a startup. All the people that helped me build what I built had a cut. That's why I don't call them my employees. They're all stakeholders. Everybody eats at the table, right? In the very beginning, we all grinded. We had nothing, meaning that we weren't able to be paid right there, but everybody could see where we were trying to go, right? So one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I was younger is that I overstepped a little too much, and it did cause me a couple of amazing people because of that. Too much involvement, where sometimes you have to be able to step back, to coach, and to advise. And that's one of the mistakes that I made.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Fakwa. I know.
Go ahead.
Quick question. I know you have to go soon, but how long did it take you to, grind on that first success, and then you told me that it gets easier from there, right? So how long did that take you, and
Yes.
how long did it take you to get funding, and like what was like the struggles of getting to that success of the first startup?
Well, wow, heck, that's a good question too. Well, the first one, funding, was very, very difficult, extremely difficult, and so that's the main reason why it took so long, because it was basically self-funded, right? It was self-funded, but that approach, and I wouldn't advise that to it's good, but it also bad because it slows you down, right? So if you just wait on yourself to self-fund your business, yes, yeah, you will own 100% of it, but guess what? You will be just like a turtle. I rather today, looking back and the way now I'm moving, I rather own 10% of a $20 million company than own 100% of $100,000 company. You know what I mean? So to be able to understand that, okay, I should have probably reach out a little more, hustle a little more for extra funding and having people buy in the capital early on, probably could have saved me 5 to 6 years. Yes. But in the other hand, you have to understand I was very immature as a businessman as well, right? Where you think having 100% it's the way to go. But no, it's not. Especially when you you're looking for growth. And in startups, it's all about growth. I'm gonna be very honest. It's not even about profit. I'd rather you have a negative um, year, meaning that you're losing money year, but you acquiring market shares. You know what I mean? I'd rather you grow and not making any money, but you growing, than not even then slowly growing and having a positive cash flow. But it's, yeah, positive cash flow doesn't mean money. It means, yeah, I have a $10,000 positive cash flow. Okay, what I'm gonna do with it? But if you are growing, you could be negative 20 million. But guess what? Every year you're grabbing 5-10% of market shares. And when either your stock, or if you're still private, when you're going to acquire all those market shares, the company will self-correct. Absolutely. The company will self-correct. So funding, I wouldn't, especially on the startup side. And I have a lot of experience because there is startup and there's small businesses. Okay. And small businesses, you don't have that, I would say you can't sit up here and just dream now, okay, I'll be a millionaire in 3 5 years. No, small business is not that, right, per se. But startup, you can have that dream, literally, legitimately, you can have that dream. That's why the approach would be different if you're going about a small business, meaning, for example, mom and pop coffee shop, right? That's a small business, right? You can have a cash flow positive of $10,000 at the end of the year. But now, if that's what you want, okay. But you can put that same energy of somebody running a coffee and a mom and pop shop. You put that energy in a startup that has amazing potential, 1,000x potential, and in 3 4 years, guess what? Your return will be whatever. I don't know. It will take me 50 years or maybe 100 years on the mom and pop coffee shop to ever catch up to you, right? So it's also about where you put your ideas and your focus, right? So early on, I said again, now with maturity, you understand where to put your money, where not to put your money, because you will the most yield when you do so. But also, same goes with your efforts. That's why I talked about early on in the presentation about the vision. When it might not be crystal clear. Like, like I said, Twitter, when they start talking about it, that was not the final product they thought it was going to come out. No, it was not. They just think, okay, it's something that we can exchange message, just more so of a messaging thing, right? They had no idea that would have been the Twitter that whatever it is today. No. So you might have a vision, you might have an idea. It doesn't need to be crystal clear. I repeat that. I know what I'm talking about. It doesn't need to be that crystal clear. But as long as you know there's something there, you might not be sure what it is yet. If you keep working on it, you keep tweaking it, you have a mind of creativity where you can connect dots that has nothing to do with each other to make whatever you're working on different. It's just that little change that's going to make it different from whatever else is out there. That's just that little change. But for you to get that little change, your mind needs to be able to connect dots that has no business with each other, just like the banana and the coffee cup. When you trigger those type of thoughts, that's how you can, out of the blue, have that little idea that can tweak the product and make it a slam dunk.